I'm going to be doing a demo again on high speed. Uh, this demo I started, this is part 2, and on part 2 I'm going to be working on still some of the smaller shapes plus details. Some details. I will probably not do the finishing details, which will be the edges, until I do a third video. But for now, you can watch that I'm trying to get the glow. I noticed that right above my head there's a photograph, and then on the right side there's another photograph. It's basically the same one. But I noticed that the photograph that I'm using isn't as bright as the photograph on the right, and I actually like the photograph on the right, so I may end up lightening it even a little bit more. And below that you can see a photograph that has been grayscaled. So anyway, the painting started out, as you will see if you remember, with me doing the back, the light blue in the sky, and then some of the orange here and there. But it sort of disappeared over time, and I'm adjusting the shape. So now I'm putting the orangish lights back in. But I'm really just sort of blotching them back in, and I'll probably go over them with a yellow glaze of some sort in time. I'm also adjusting some of the values a little bit, and as you can see in the photo here. But I'm really thinking that the sky, I would like the sky lighter. I'll probably do that again as well. One of the things, it's always a question of stepping back and looking at the painting and deciding, is this convincing or not? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to change? Do I need to darken anything? Do I need to lighten anything? To me, the black in the middle doesn't seem quite as dark as it should be. But on the other hand, when you see it in person, it has a little more luminosity than the black does. So it's a trade-off, and maybe by the time I'm done, I'll show you some close-ups of the area. But anyway, I'm working on the shapes of the clouds, defining them a little bit more, and especially the spaces and shapes behind the clouds, and trying to just work in that area and get the overall effect that I'm looking for here. You can see that there still needs to be some work done with the shapes, with the colors. You know, in the quiet areas, they're not flat. There's a slight gradation, and that's where I'm working. Like, for example, in the foreground where the water is, there's a gradation. It's not really a flat blue or a flat blue-green. There's a very slight change, and that change is partly what makes the painting interesting. So I'm basically doing that and taking care of what needs to be taken care of. I'd like you to take a look at the slight variations I'm making in here. I keep going back and forth, but none of the areas are really flat. None of the clouds are flat. I put them in as flat areas, but now I'm sort of refining their shapes, adding little lights, little darks, refining the edges. But I didn't start with that. I started with the basic strong shape because that's where I wanted the viewer to be arrested. I'm very interested in the contrast that occurs in the clouds and the back sky. And I think that you'll find that as I develop this, it'll become more and more apparent. I'm definitely going to lighten the sky. I'm primarily using phthalo blue with a little white and a little tiny bit of green, and maybe occasionally I'll put in some ultramarine blue, and of course I'm using the cad red light to make the orange, but near the horizon and occasionally I have a little bit of the blue, the alizarin crimson mixed in, but predominantly it's a phthalo blue and white with a little bit of yellow. I also take the phthalo blue and tone it down a little bit insofar with a little bit of cad red light so that it's not as brilliant. It's a little more, recedes a little bit. The other thing that I do is that I am kind of topping it over with a little bit of ultramarine blue with white. And then I also have mixed with the alizarin crimson and the ultramarine. I've made a kind of a purple, but to that I've also added a little yellow so it's muted as well. I hope that you enjoy this little video. I will have a second one. Make sure to subscribe. If you want to leave some comments, I'd be happy to have you leave some comments. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. I am going to be teaching another workshop at the end of this